We met Richard Blais during season 4 of Top Chef, which was set in Chicago. Now the chef, restaurateur, and author is back with a new book he wrote with his wife Jasmine called Plant Forward. In stores now. Richard, it's an honor. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh my gosh, the honor is mine. Thank you for letting me talk about the new book and whatever else you'd like to chat about.
Obviously, there's going to be a lot of Top Chef Chicago questions that are kind of going to come up, but let's talk a little bit about the book first. A particular recipe, a particular vegetable. What inspired this journey for this book?
Wow, yeah. So, I mean, Plant Forward is a cookbook that I co-authored with my wife, Jasmine Blais, and it is the most authentic version of what we cook at home. And it tells the story and the journey of how I basically, went through my health and wellness journey. So at one point, this book was called My Wife Saved My Life, which sounds very, very dramatic, but it is very much true. So just how we started changing my habits, eating better, eating more vegetables. Obviously, it's plant focused, although there are plenty of meat options in the book, which I think is important to say. This is sort of like the 101, 102 sort of health and wellness journey. And some of my favorite recipes that are in the book, one that I did today, is a mushroom burger that also has beef. So it's like 50% mushrooms, 50% beef. And it's a great sort of, training wheels recipe to start getting used to liking food that focuses on vegetables.
Because we have tomato and watermelon poke, we have jerk cauliflower steaks, we have the mushroom burger that you talked about, eggplant and chickpea samosas. I mean, these are all things that, like, as I'm saying the titles, I was like, I want to get in my kitchen and make these like right away.
Oh, amazing. Well, that's a good sign. I mean, whether you're writing a menu for a restaurant or doing a cookbook, you want people to read the menu or look at an image or hear the dish and want to go make it. And you just rattle off a couple of our favorites, both for how easy they are, how creative they are, but also like how delicious they sound, which is the key to being a good chef, is, making sure that you're cooking delicious food and that people want to eat it. Sounds simple. It's not always, but thanks for saying that.
Oh, of course. You're also going on a book tour, kicking it off in New York, but you're visiting New York, Virginia, Nashville. You're coming to the Naperville area here in Chicago, Kansas City, Dallas, Seattle, San Francisco. Do you already have like your line? I mean, these are all incredible food cities. Do you like have your place that you're already going to like eat at after the book signings or friends you want to meet up with? Like, how does a book tour work for you?
Wow. I mean, this is, it's really just sort of play it by ear, to be honest. I wish, even when I'm in all of these amazing cities, Chicago might be a special one. I'm thinking I might reach out to my friend Grant Achatz and see if I can get a table at Royster, which is one of my favorite restaurants in the world. And, I'm in New York frequently enough that I'll probably just go grab. So actually, that's not true. I'm going to go to Hillstone later for a veggie burger. Believe it or not, as I'm talking about burgers, it's one of my favorites, and you can find them in other cities. But I keep it pretty simple when we're on the road. There's not a lot to it. You just kind of eat wherever you're at, basically.
Yeah, because it's a little bit of a distance from Naperville to Chicago. But with Stephanie being in Chicago, Sarah Gruenberg, Damar Brown, Fabio Viviani. I mean, there's so many top chef. It's such a top chef city. That's what I love, that people got to enjoy the show, but also whether they live here or get to visit Chicago, get to have one of those restaurant experiences.
Yeah, I just did an event with Sarah yesterday. Actually, just left from hanging out with her. And are there too many top chefs? Too many chefs in Chicago?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, we need one more, Richard. We're looking at you. We need one more.
There we go. Well, listen, Chicago has always resonated with me. I've always felt people think I'm from Chicago, so I think that just means I'm a nice guy. Like maybe I just have the awesome Midwest vibes, but we would love at some point to do that for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about your health journey, because you've ran a couple of marathons. You've been very open on social media as far as maybe some of the changes that you've made within yourself. But talk about maybe some of the social media messages you get from people who enjoy watching you on television, who are like, I want to make a similar journey or, follow some of the things that you've done.
Yeah, I mean, the frequently asked questions is another, moment that sort of, spurred why we did this book, because a lot of people, especially in the restaurant industry, will reach out to me and say, how did you do that? How do you keep doing it? And I started realizing, besides, dude, what's up with your hair? It was the most basic, common question we would get. And to have that sort of responsibility to be able to share that and be able to tell that story that's really, really authentic and true is a special thing. So, I mean, for me, it was a very slow process. I think that's really, really important. And I think Plan Forward, we talk about it. It's a very emotional book. I don't know if you've had a chance to read through it yet. Even though it's a cookbook, the stories are, really, really special, and a lot of stories that we haven't told, as a couple or as a family yet.
Your wife wasn't originally in the culinary business, and then kind of moved her business, and as well as like yoga and the business factor of it as well too. What's it like? Or did you ask her like, hey, this is a book we want to write together? Was it an idea you came up with together to be a part of this cookbook?
Yeah, well, I mean, she's always, even though she has a master's degree in healthcare management, which certainly segues, and she's a yoga instructor, we met in the industry. She has run restaurants as a front of the house manager. So we've always had that sort of front of house, back of house, classic restaurant romance story. And of course, she's involved, in our company, and she knows so much about food. And she does, listen, the kids prefer her food. This is something that I think is for moms just in general, which I totally understand. It doesn't bother me. It bothers me a little bit. But she's a great cook. She's an excellent cook. She's a fantastic baker. And for the other books that we've done, she's always been sort of a little bit more of a behind the scenes sort of editor for it. And this one was just really important for both of us to just write it. The book came about during the beginning, from the beginning of the pandemic, and we had a little bit more time to sit there and actually, write this thing and talk about it. So I'm super proud of the book, but really, really proud that Jasmine Blais's, name and face and work is, clear front page center.
And you both are going to be doing the book tour?
Yes. So I'm starting in New York by myself, but Jasmine will rally with me in DC and Nashville and Chicago as well. Chicago is one of Jasmine's absolute favorite cities. I remember just recently, a couple of years ago, we spent our summer vacation, part of our summer vacation in Chicago, which, as you know, it's, so hot in the middle of Chicago, melting at the museums and, just walking around Chicago. But she loves Chicago, so she's excited for it.
Well, that's the nice thing too, is that there's always a street festival or a outdoor concert and the museum. So you get to take a little break and go in the air conditioning, but there's always so much to do. And we always say that people in Chicago never go on vacation in the summer because they want to take in the city. That we go on vacation in the spring and in the fall and definitely in the winter.
For sure in the winter. I've spent too many winter days in Chicago. I'm okay with being there in the fall.
You mentioned earlier that a lot of people think you're from Chicago. Top Chef season 4 set in Chicago. The very first episode involves deep dish pizza. There were so many Chicago things, whether it was like the police academy, a block party, Second City, there were weddings. There were so many things that were like define Chicago. Favorite challenge, favorite episode. Tell me a little bit about you.
Wow, it is a little bit. It is way back, to be honest. I mean, I do remember vividly like that first challenge being chucked into a deep dish pizza challenge. I've never had deep dish pizza up until that point. And not really knowing, because, the show also was so early in its existence, not really knowing what I was up for. I think I remember, usually when you ask Top Chef contestants favorite memories, it's usually when they did well. Something that they did well or got recognized for. I remember making, and bringing it back to Plan Forward, I remember making a vegetarian taco for Rick Bayless, winning the quickfire. And look at that. Fast forward, 12 years. And now I'm doing almost a vegetarian book featuring dishes like the one that Rick Bayless loved. So that one was really, really personal to me. But I just loved being on that cast and driving around Chicago and getting to drive by Wrigley Field and just soaking up the energy of the city.
Well, I mean, especially, with you, with Stephanie, Spike Mendelsohn, Ryan Scott, and Antonia. I mean, there's so many. And this is, I'm going to say this. You don't have to say anything. I'm going to say it myself. Season number 4 and season number 5 were my 2 favorite of Top Chef. And you were just on television with Carla Hall, from season number 5, which is, it's just cool because those are like my 2 favorite, like defining Top Chef experience. If I'm sitting there, like I have to watch it every single week. Those are my 2 favorite seasons.
Listen, I'm biased, but I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, peak Top Chef, right? And yeah, even when you just started mentioning castmates of mine on, the Chicago season, just how many people on that season are really doing well. Like whatever metric you want to throw out, restaurants, TV shows, books, whatever. There's just so many people, and a lot that you didn't mention that are just really, really crushing it from that season for sure.
Wonderful. Well, Richard, thank you so much for your time today. The new book, Plant Forward, is out now. He wrote it with his wife, Jasmine. They're also going to go on a book tour starting off in New York, and then they're coming to Anderson's Bookshop in Naperville this Sunday, November 5th. Check Richard out on Instagram at Richard Blais, and I'll give you the link here for Anderson's Bookshop to go ahead and secure those tickets. You're doing a little Q&A and then signing books. Is that how the event's going to go?
Yeah, we're going to hang out, chat as long as people want us to. So we're going to have a good time.
Awesome. Chef, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.